Good evening and welcome to the Perspective 24. I am your host, MP Julius Lele. Tonight we dive into critical global issues shaping our world today. Here is a look at what is coming up. Child and youth safety online, drug abuse, democracy under threat, and human rights. Through our reporting and expert insights, we aim to bring clarity and solutions to these pressing concerns. Stay with us for an informative and thought-provoking discussion. You can join our discussion through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Perspective24. In our first major developing story tonight, we focus on child and youth safety online. The internet is a gateway to knowledge and connection, but how safe are our children in the digital world? The Perspective 24's Christine reports.
Thank you very much, Julius. With the increased internet usage by the youth, parents are now facing pressure on how to create safer digital environment for their children. Back to you, Julius.
So, Christine, is the government doing more to protect the children and youth safety online? And what should the parents do to protect their children's online safety?
That's a very good question, Julius. Parents should be more keen and observant with what their children are doing, and part of it involves monitoring the websites that their children go to, and also just teaching the children basic safety measures when they go online.
So thank you, Christine, for that wonderful reporting. So we are joined in studio by Brenda Wonka, who is a youth and child safety online activist. So Brenda, welcome. And my first question to you is, what are the biggest cybersecurity risks for children and young people online today?
There are several risks that actually affect the minors and the young people within the society. So number one, I'll start with the inappropriate content that they're actually exposed to. Sometimes this content is not filtered. Some of this content could be actually hate speech or even violence that could actually affect them. Then we have number two, we have privacy violation. Most of the time this nowadays, we actually post content, or rather we record and post content without consent of young people within our society, which actually infringes their rights and consent. Then number three, I'll go to phishing. Most of the time when these young people visit online sites and social media applications, they may click on some links, probably telling them that they've won something, and once they click on them, they might be lured to expose some of their personal data or personal identifiable information, or they could actually download malware to their system, which could compromise their devices.
How can parents and guardians ensure their children are safe in the digital world today?
So number one, they will actually ensure that they monitor these young people by checking the logs. Most of the social media applications, or rather even devices, they have the logs, and they have the history. They can actually check what actually they have been using, or rather they have been surfing online. Then number two, they could actually provide, or rather enable, an open communication with them, whereby they can build trust with them and they can actually share some of the challenges that they share, or rather they encounter within, as they surface online, or rather as they surf within the internet. Then number three, they could also enhance parental controls by tweaking some of these social media application settings to filter the content and the data that they want their young people, or rather the minors, to actually consume.
Are tech companies doing enough to protect young users, and what more should they be doing?
I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that some of the social media, or rather the tech companies, they try to filter the content way beforehand. I will give an example of Instagram, whereby if you're supposed to upload a video, they actually filter it for either hate speech or even some violence content, and they can actually tell you to drop it down. So yes, and they also use AI technologies to filter some of this content and to ensure that it's actually safe for the minors and for the young people. Then within this the filtering, I'll give an example of YouTube, whereby we have the normal YouTube and we have the YouTube for kids. So they have separated some of these social applications, whereby we have for the young people and then we have for the adults. The other thing they have enhanced is that they have actually partnered with organizations to provide sensitization to young people on what content is actually safe for them. So the reason I say no is because there is a gap that needs to be actually filled. So more needs to be done on the filtration in the sense that they need to also tell us what this data that they're collecting with the young people, how exactly they do promote transparency, and tell us how exactly they're using it and how they're processing it, and in what way they can actually affect our young people within our society.
A national coordinated effort so that we close the gaps when it comes to identification of perpetrators, so that perpetrators are brought into book, because the online crimes are committed, across borders. They are not confined within countries. Therefore, the role of Interpol, the role of international social services and other key stakeholders, including the tech industries, it becomes very critical that we close the net for perpetrators to get closer to our children, because we want to create a safer space, safer environment for our children globally.
In our next top story tonight, we focus on drug abuse, which is tearing families apart and stretching rehabilitation centers to the limit. The Perspective 24's Sian takes a closer look.
Thank you, Julius. In communities worldwide, such as here at Mathare Institute of Health and Correction, drug or substance abuse has greatly affected both families and individuals. Rehabilitation centers right now are overwhelmed, and the need for effective change is urgently needed. Thank you. Back to you, student.
We are joined in studio by Mr. Samuel Henya, who is a psychiatrist and a very good analyst in this drug abuse section. So what are the root causes of rising drug abuse among young people in Kenya today?
I can say there are several reasons. One being the increased population in the world, whereby many young people are now having less opportunities to sustain their livelihoods. And we are also experiencing a lot of cultural shifts, whereby unlike there before, where we had very well structured cultural systems and norms, now we are experiencing situations where young people are lost. They do not know how to cope with many of the life challenges, stresses. So I can say coping mechanisms can also be attributed as a key factor in leading to young people not being able to mitigate or prevent themselves from engaging in drugs and substance abuse.
How effective are current rehabilitation and support programs for substance abuse victims?
Most of the rehabilitation programs can say they are quite good. However, they still have a long way to go, because most of them don't have a comprehensive aftercare program, because you need to follow up with the victims even beyond the rehabilitation period.
What role should families and communities play in combating drug addiction?
So families and communities need to offer a supportive and conducive environment by giving love to these people, and also being open to communicating about the dangers of drugs and substance abuse. Above all, they need to be less judgmental and really be accommodative to them. Yeah, we also need to have a lot of campaign going around the dangers of drugs and substance abuse. The communities also need to offer resources whereby people can be able to access a lot of information with regard to this area of drugs and substance abuse.
The ranking of commonly abused substances include alcohol. We have cat at number 2, which is miraa, commonly known as miraa. We have tobacco, we have cannabis, we have the prescription drugs. And the rising trend is fueled by a combination of factors, including peer pressure, unemployment, limited access to education, and counseling services, and the widespread availability of illicit substances in informal markets. That is why we are asking members of the public to avoid over-the-counter medication and prescribing drugs for themselves.
Thank you, Samuel, for sharing your insights with us, and we sincerely appreciate you. Coming up at the short break, we shall be discussing on democracy and how it is affecting Kenya and the world at large. You can also continue joining our conversation through our social media handles under hashtag Perspective24, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Thank you.
I was dropped out from my school, lost all my focus. I went from 100 to 0.
I lost my job and it left me with living on the streets without my family.
It made me lie, cheat, and it ruined my relationships.
It took my brother's life. He was only 19.
It's time
It's time.
It's time
To talk about drug abuse. Because
drugs
Costs you more.
than just money.
Welcome back. We now shift our focus to another developing story, democracy under threat. From misinformation to election integrity, democracy faces mounting challenges worldwide. Our reporter Sian reports.
In many nations, democratic institutions are under strain. Political protests, restrictive laws, and misinformation threaten citizen rights and fair governance. Mary Ndungu, The Perspective 24, Nairobi.
So we are joined in studio by Mr. Benedict Lemayan, who is a democracy activist. So Mr. Benedict, my first question to you is, what are the biggest threats to democracy today?
First and foremost, the two main threats to democracy are political polarization and misinformation to the people.
How does misinformation impact democratic processes, and how can we counter it?
Misinformation creates tension to the people and also can cause war among the people. We can counter this by informing people, and the media houses can play major role in this.
What roles do citizens and the media play in preserving democracy?
The media and the people play a major important role by informing the people on and also holding the people in leadership accountable of their actions.
Thank you. In our final story tonight, we look at human rights. From forced labor to racial injustice, human rights violations continue globally. How can we turn advocacy into action? So we are joined in studio by Mr. James Kangede, who is a human rights activist. Welcome, Mr. James. My first question is, what are the most pressing human rights violations in today's world?
I think the most pressing human rights violations include forced labor. I'll give an example of the Democratic Republic of Congo, whereby you find kids working in mines where they are mining coltan, but they receive no compensation at all. And that is a direct violation of their rights as human beings.
How effective are international organizations in addressing these issues?
International organizations, including the United Nations, play a huge role in addressing issues to do with human rights, because they bring forth policies which help regulate sectors such as labor sectors, so that marginalized communities cannot be oppressed.
What role can individuals and local communities play in human rights advocacy?
Individuals and local communities play a big role in addressing human rights violations. For example, currently in Kenya, we have the Gen Zs who are really vocal in fighting for the rights of their fellow Kenyans and ensuring that the government does right by them in making policies that are friendly and not oppressive to the people.
Across the globe, a wave of political unrest is testing the resilience of democracies. From tightened restrictions on freedom of assembly to legislation curbing media independence, the landscape of civil liberties is shifting. In some countries, governments are using misinformation not only to control narratives, but also to erode public trust in democratic processes. Experts warn that if left unchecked, these trends could undermine the accountability and transparency that define a healthy democracy.
Tonight, we explored some of the world's most pressing issues: online safety, drug abuse, democracy, and human rights. These conversations don't end here. Engage with us on our social media handles: Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and hashtag Perspective24. Until next time, goodbye.